This exhibition is called After Neurath, the Global Polis. It's an exhibition about Otto Neurath and his collaborations with everyone from Margarete Schüttl-Lehotzky, a brilliant yet still understudied woman architect from Austria, with Cornelis von Esterer, with Laszlo Moholy-Nagy, with Le Corbusier, and many of the leading architects and planners of his time. At the same time, though, it's also an exhibition that attempts to engage politics and raise questions about the relationships between politics and culture. Well, in this exhibition, I try to explore three questions. The first question I try to explore is, what is a community? And I look at Neurath's efforts to forge community through housing, through social housing, through cooperative housing in Vienna after World War I. In the second issue, the second act, so to speak, of the exhibition, I try and ask, what is globalism? And what is globalism to Neurath? And I look at his collaborations with a number of different global institutions, as well as a number of other figures who were similarly committed to this question or interested in this question. And those figures included Le Corbusier, the Swiss architect, Paul Otlet of Belgium, and a couple of other figures. In the third act of the exhibition, I then look at Neurath's attempts at applying his ideas about planning, participatory politics in the context of urbanism and urban planning. Cornelis von Esterer was particularly interested in Neurath's work, he of course being a Dutch architect, because he believed that he could use Neurath's language to derive a universal language of urban planning that transcended all of national differences. Now, in this exhibition, one of the important themes I try to explore is why that effort to forge a universal language, to create a kind of universal or global community, ultimately failed. So, in a sense, the show is a tragedy, right? It's a show about a tragedy. It's a show about failure. It's a show about the failure of one person to, in a sense, forge a kind of universal democratic culture worldwide. But at the same time, I think in our own day, we can, in a sense, read the show as a first step toward a first, maybe, expression of, or not a first, but a very modest expression of optimism. In a sense, the show is also a kind of maybe a beginning of a conversation about the possibilities or the possibility of fostering participatory forms of assembly and fostering inclusive forms of public assembly in modern life. What I really want to get across is that this show is as much about politics and society as it is about culture and art. That's what I want to get across, that those different spheres of life can really be in conversation with each other, and I think this show attempts to explore how that exchange between culture and politics might occur. It certainly shouldn't be seen as a model. I think that there were many flaws in the project of Neurath, for instance. But at the same time, I think what his example exemplified is a way in which artists, architects, planners can be in conversation with people in a whole range of different spheres of life. The show is really, in a sense, it's food for thought. It's something, I think, more to reflect on than something to take away and say, hey, this is what we should be doing. What's extraordinary is the extent to which many of our current obsessions, cultural, social, political obsessions, are extensions of issues that that society has been confronting for centuries. You know, so today we think the digital age, we think media, and we think 21st century, information, communication, interactivity, wireless. In fact, most of these kind of myths about media information being this kind of new, extraordinary breakthrough innovation are complete nonsense. You know, it's a fabrication cultivated by marketers, you know, who want to sell products. And the funny thing is that when you look closely at issues, the history of media, the history of information is quite deep and rich. And I think that, you know, an awareness of strategies that people earlier have employed in an effort to, let's say, bring information in conversation with culture and politics can really teach us a lot about directions in which to go today. And Neurath, I think, who died in 1945, a long time ago, was a really important character in this history. And that's what this exhibition tries to show.